want to begin by extending a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists and guests who have joined us today to recognize and celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. Our nation and our county is enriched by the Hispanic community, whose members have important roles in shaping our character as a community with limitless possibilities. At a time when there's so much intolerance bubbling to the surface in our nation, commemorations such as these are especially important, not only to recognize the outstanding work of individuals, but to showcase the best of our community. Montgomery County's Hispanic population totals nearly 200,000 residents who represent more than 22 countries of origin. Our largest population of Hispanic residents come from El Salvador, Mexico, Peru, Guatemala, and Honduras. We say it often, but it bears repeating today. Montgomery County's diversity is its strength. People from every corner of the globe come to our county seeking peace, stability, and a better quality of life for themselves and their families. Their contributions greatly enrich our culture, our community, and our economy. While there's still much work to do to drown out the racial and social injustices that are being stoked by the president, please rest assured that our local leaders are united in protecting all our residents who are working to achieve the American dream. We welcome all individuals who are working hard to make ends meet, engaging their entrepreneurial spirit by starting new businesses or seeking to achieve more through higher education. Today, we celebrate and honor the achievements of the Hispanic Americans who call Montgomery County home and make it a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. Now I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Nancy Navarro, who initiated this commemoration, for her comments.
Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias. Antes de comenzar, también personas que necesiten interpretación simultánea, atrás hay una señora que lo está ofreciendo. Thank you very much. Just wanted to point out that we do have simultaneous translation in the back. And so this is the fourth year that the County Council has maintained this tradition of recognizing really wonderful members of our Latino community here in the county, and really spotlighting and I think reflecting on the extraordinary diversity that exists within our Latino community here in Montgomery County, and it's reflected also, I think, on the national level. So it's a real pleasure and honor for me to serve on this body, and also as someone who comes from Venezuela, to also reflect on the contributions that all of my brothers and sisters from so many other Latin American countries continue to offer and continue to provide extraordinary contributions that build and make this county, I think the state and the nation, such a strong place to call home. I wanted to just highlight that, this entire celebration started in 1968 by Congress, and that's how Hispanic Heritage Month was established, and it's kind of interesting. I was talking to my family about this, that it starts in the middle of September and ends in the middle of October, and it's because that way it does coincide with several independence celebration from several Latin American countries. So it's really interesting that we do have at least this one period of time during the year to highlight the social, cultural, extraordinary, diverse contributions, the civilizations that comprise not only Central America, South America, but really here in the United States, because we forget how places like Texas, California, New Mexico, how rich this Latino culture goes back so many centuries. So it's really an amazing thing to do and to witness. I think that it's also important to recognize what's happening here in our county in terms of the Latino growth. Statistics is very startling for me is the fact that right now about 30% of our students in MCPS are Latinos, and they're the largest group, and it continues to grow. I think that right there really speaks to how so many people, so many Latino families are calling Montgomery County home, and they're not just first generation, they're already second and some third generation, and I think we will hear from some folks who represent that. So it's an extraordinary time, I think, in Montgomery County to be here and to highlight all of these contributions. And as Council President Berliner had noted, we do also have to be mindful that there are quite a bit of difficulties, and a lot of, I I think, rhetoric on the national level that concerns all of us. But I think here in Montgomery County, we strive every day to be inclusive, to celebrate all of our differences, and at the same time recognize all those ties that bind us. So with that, I understand that we have a video that was produced by the extraordinary people here in the County Council, led by Sonia Healy and Lillian Mas, who is our bilingual public information person here in Montgomery County Council. And after that, we will have a panel discussion, and I'll briefly introduce everyone on the panel after the video.
Cultural richness.
Passionate workers.
Unlimited flavors, but most importantly, a positive addition to one of the most prominent counties in the nation. Hispanics represent nearly 20% of the county's population, a fast-growing minority eager to succeed and make this region greater than it already is. A community committed to helping each other to accomplish their dreams and overcome any challenge they may face. A clear example of that is Carmen Centeno, who came from El Salvador as a youth and after overcoming the language and many other barriers, now dedicates her life to helping other newcomers not only to adapt to their new lives in this country, but to make their wildest dreams become reality.
My biggest satisfaction is seeing the youth graduating from high school, going and pursuing college, and knowing that these youth will make an impact and they're going to come back to the community, they're going to be working, they're going to be professionals. Knowing that I planted a little seed and that seed is starting to grow, I can't wait to see when they come back and I'm able to see them maybe working in the county council or owning their own business in the community, helping others just like I'm doing right now.
Through Liberty's Promise, which is a nonprofit organization committed to positive youth development, Carmen has a direct impact in the present and future of many young Latinos in the area. Annex is one of them.
I no longer feel the same as I did when I first came. I feel more integrated and informed, but mostly capable of accomplishing my goals, and all thanks to her effort and dedication.
Carmen hopes that through her work, these young immigrants can change their perspective of life and not only give back to their communities, but also become an inspiration to others.
An inspiration like Dr. Alberto Martinez, who came from Colombia when he was 17 years old. He arrived in this country thinking that he wasn't smart enough to achieve his dreams. But a small window of opportunity opened, and he dared to seize it. He joined the Navy, and years later, he became the prominent ophthalmologist that he still is today. His practice provides employment to 70 people and allows 10 other doctors to give their services. For many, Dr. Martinez is a valuable asset to this county.
You trust me with your eyes. That's an amazing blessing. And so I'm blessed to do that, and because of that, I feel honored, and I have done really well. I mean, I have grown dramatically, and my practice has grown and grown and grown, and therefore it's just natural that I give back, because that's where it feels best.
Every year, he goes to Honduras and other countries to perform cornea transplants and cataract surgeries for free. And he does it in the name of the United States, because he believes that the investment that this country made in him has to be recognized. And he hopes that new generations of Hispanics get the same opportunities that he did.
I think there is a tremendous potential in the Latino community. There are many more potential doctors and contributors like I have. And these people, they need education. If you give them the opportunity, they will work very hard and they will contribute. So I think our legislators, the people who control finances, should help the Latino community to educate themselves, because you are essentially investing in the future.
Most of the Hispanic immigrants in Montgomery County come from Central America, and Marjorie is one of them. She left Guatemala 11 years ago, not only to improve her life, but to make it a life of purpose. And that's how she became part of the organization Linkages to Learning, where she helps change the lives of those parents who thought it was too late to dare. Marjorie helps them to build their confidence and guide them through the process of accomplishing those goals that they had given up.
Once they see that there's somebody who is there to guide them and that there's all these resources and then there's other people who want to help them, they start becoming, they start believing in themselves and see, okay, I have one person who believes in me, now I have two people who believe in me. Now I have a whole group that believe in me, so maybe I can do it.
With her help, many immigrants in the county have become better versions of themselves.
To see them succeed, it's what makes me happy and be in the place I am now, and I want to continue doing that.
The support of the Hispanic community to Montgomery County has no limits, and it comes at all levels. Attorney Victor Del Pino is a clear example of that. After 15 years practicing criminal defense, he has been able not only to represent clients, but has also served as the head of the gang prosecution unit of the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office. He has donated his legal services to the community and has proven to be a passionate community activist.
It makes me feel good, number one, to give back to our community because it's necessary. And number two, I hope that by giving back, that teaches others to give back, but at the same time, that creates successful stories, right? I mean, people that'll be better than Victor Del Pino, people that will be better than, whether that means other elected officials, whether that means, people in charge of making policies in the county, because that's what we need. We have a lot of bright individuals here, and we need to take advantage of those individuals.
The time he has donated to work with at-risk youth and his constant search for new ways to improve the quality of life of our residents is invaluable. But his most important goal is to highlight the many positive contributions of the Latino community.
Our community, our Latino community, makes the entire community of Montgomery County great. We're embedded in this community. Hardworking people, law-abiding people. I know what I do for a living, but I know that the vast majority of our community, law-abiding, hardworking, good people. We should not be looked at as a strain on our community. We should look at it as a positive. And that's why I do what I do.
Her humble heart and the honest desire to serve her country have placed Lillian Cruz in a key position that allows her to reach what for many seems to be unreachable.
I work as a congressional staffer in the U.S. Congress, and what I'm able to do is to transform lives through public service. And so really it's an honor and a privilege for me to serve in that capacity, and growing up in this area, being able to drive by North Capitol Street and see the Capitol right in your backyard, and then being able to work in that capacity is truly amazing. And when you're able to really help people in their most time of need, and be able to transform their lives is even more of a privilege.
At an early age, her parents instilled in her an understanding of the importance of keeping her roots and the true value of being bilingual. And today she hopes that more people at all levels will recognize the importance of diversity in our work environment, and that new generations of Latinos will embrace their language.
Being bicultural and bilingual is fabulous because you're able to maneuver in different settings and be able to have more of an enriched experience in whichever career you choose.
The largest age group of Latinos in Montgomery County are those between 20 and 34 years of age, a range in which Chris Urquiaga falls perfectly.
We're gonna stand up for what is right. We will be strong. We will fight and we won't stop. The powers that be will not control us.
At age 26, Chris Urquiaga plays an important role in Montgomery County's cultural arena. His talents have led him to perform at major venues like the Kennedy Center and even the White House. It is his desire to be the person who helps to change the views of those who have negative opinions of Latinos and inspire the new generations to find their own voice, to generate positive changes.
We will be strong.
Each one of us has it within us to really become something great and the best that we can be, and a true contributor in a positive way to our society. And so through my music, I just think that I have the opportunity each and every day and each and every time I perform to inspire people, especially our youngsters, in times like these.
Yes, we will find.
Thank you so much. I do want to really thank the participants in the video, and they're here today. We're going to award everybody at the end, at the conclusion of the panel discussion, so you'll get to see them also. But now we're going to move right into the panel conversation, and we have extraordinary panelists with us, and I'm just going to very quickly just say a few things about each of them. I'm going to start with, I'll start here with Oscar Alvarenga, who's a community activist, and he is the PTA president of Summit Hall Elementary School. He was recently named as the Montgomery County Council of Parent-Teacher Association PTA President of the Year, and was recognized for his achievement at the June 15th Mayor and City Council meeting. He's done some extraordinary things, but I think it's really awesome that recently he was chosen as Fox 5 Hometown Hero, and he was the Grand Marshal of the 2017 Gaithersburg Labor Day Parade. So that's really great. I think that's awesome. He says he's passionate about building a community school and advocate for all kids and helping parents by providing access and information. So I'm so glad that you could be here with us today. Next to him is Nora Barrera. She's the president and CEO of the Media Network, and she has a passion for health and well-being of the most vulnerable. She founded TMN Corp in 1999 to promote health and wellness in communities with little or no access to information on services and programs. She has directed numbers of successful campaigns for federal, state, and local governments, private and not-for-profit sector clients. And I think another very interesting thing, she has been named to the list of top 100 Hispanic entrepreneurs by both Hispanic Magazine and Hispanic Business, and has been featured in the Washington Business Journal. She was also named to the 2008 list of top 100 women of Maryland by the Daily Record, and has received numerous awards. But she also takes a lot of her time to give back to the community, so we really appreciate her being with us. Then we have Dr. Claudia Campos, who's a major star in our community. She's founder and voice of Health, Sex, and Domestic Violence. She was born in Colombia and studied clinical physiology at the Catholic University in Bogota, Colombia, and also has a master's on sexual education, as well as a PhD in Masters of Human Sexuality and Couples Therapy. And she has worked extensively over 20 years with various private and public sector agencies and organizations nationally and internationally. Since her arrival in the U.S. More than 19 years ago, she has worked tirelessly as a prominent Latina community leader, health professional, and advocate to defend and promote women's rights in the Latino community, particularly on issues relating to domestic and partner violence and sexual and reproductive health. She's a well-known and admired for her charisma, dedication, and commitment to improving the lives of the disenfranchised Latino communities of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, we have another amazing star, Rafael Sanchez Cruz, who is a reporter for Univision, and he's an Emmy Award winning journalist. He currently works for Noticias Univision, Washington, covering immigration politics and among other issues that affect the Latino community in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. His commitment to Spanish language media drives from the struggles that his parents went through being Mexican immigrants in the United States. So welcome to all. And I guess we're just going to have an informal conversation. So we'll start with Oscar.
Muchas gracias a todos por esta oportunidad. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. I just wanted to say that one of the things that drives me is, I look at all these people and I feel this big, It's amazing to see how many people are contributing to our society. And one of the messages that I want to give, not only to the youth, but also to the average person that just sits on the sideline and are watching, is that what you see us, I know for me particularly, when you see me, I look polished right now. I sound polished right now. I've been doing this for a few years now. But this is not how it started. I'm a student that went to 11 different schools between kindergarten and ninth grade. I was expelled from Montgomery County Public Schools for my behavior. I wasn't that kid that you were going to point out and say, he's the winner. You know, I was a kid that had long hair, that smoked drugs, and did everything that you sometimes would read in a newspaper, local teenager found, right? That was me. And there was a few people, though, along the way that saw something else. And my family, of course, people in churches that prayed over me, and different counselors, different assistant principals that said, there has to be something good in him. We see it, we just need to find it. And it took a long time. And because of that, and because of where I'm at now, as a father of 3, 2 in middle school, my wife that has emotionally supported me for now 15 years, is where I'm at. And I look at the youth now and I say, there is so many Oscar Alvarengas right here that they get looked at and they get labeled. And the media portrays so many of our youth. I just saw a campaign for Virginia that was talking about MS-13, and it was a group of us at my job. I work over at Gatorsburg Mazda, and there was a group of us that were sitting there, and the white folks and I kind of catched eyes when this happened, right? And whoever spoke first was going to make it awkward. So the white gentleman said, man, this makes a lot of good people look bad. And I said, you're right. I said, it's interesting how they focus on this group of people that are doing bad things in society, and that most of us, or all of us, don't want to be puesto juntos, right? Put together, associated, thank you, associated with this group. We want to fight them also. But it's amazing how when you portray it a certain way, it makes all of us look a certain way. And I know that when my kids are standing playing basketball or doing something, people look at them a certain way based off of how they're portrayed. And that's something, so the message to the people is, to the youth, right? The message is, you can do it, right? I got out of it. I suffered and had to work very hard to get out of it, but I eventually did get out of it. And now we're doing what we need to do. To the parents, there's so many resources out there that allow you to make the good decisions for your kids, right? The reasons I got involved in early education is because, 1, my kids were in early education, but 2, because I saw the discrepancies between schools that weren't quite being advocated correctly, or some schools weren't being advocated, but why? Not because the resources weren't there, not because the system wasn't allowing for everybody to come up, but some of us, just from culturally, didn't understand and didn't know how to work the system. So we have to educate the parents. And then to everybody else is, when you see Oscar Alvarenga today, picture me how I was then, right? And imagine if Oscar Alvarenga would have had the opportunities, the real opportunities back then, where would I be now, right? Where I am now is just from where the work that we have done to improve ourselves. But there's so many kids in our youth right now, not only, and we don't start at high school level, right? We start at the elementary school level and making these kids believe that what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, that bullying is bullying, right? No matter which way it is, that the way a kid smells when he comes into the class is just how the parents cook at home, right? Some parents cook really, really good food and the kids come smelling like it, right? There's all sorts of forms of bullying, and making sure that at an early age they understand that what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and doing what's right is right 100% of the time, and standing up for those things. So starting from elementary school, middle, and high school, and educating these students, educating the audience, and educating our community members that what you see today is not where we come from. You know, a lot of us up here come from towns and barrios that are not what you see, is not what's being publicized in a positive way. So I'm very thankful for being here. I'm very honored, and for all the awards that we get are for things that we've done, but not for things that have to be done. And we still have lots of work to do. We don't do it for recognition. We do it because most of us think this is what we're supposed to be doing, right? I started volunteering and I started doing what I'm doing because my kids and my family expected me to, not because I thought it was what it was, how do you say, it was to do it for other reasons other than this is what you need to do. So I thank you for my time. I know I can talk forever, so.
Hola.
Well, buenas tardes. My name is Nora Barrera, and I want to give you a little of my story so you can picture how I got where I am right now. So I'm originally from Colombia, and I have been in this country for 33 years. And I came here for, everyone asked me, why are you here? Where did you come over? And two main reasons. I had a 1-year-old son at that time when I was in Colombia. And there was a lot of violence at the time. And I love my country, it's amazing, but at the time I was scared about it. So I decided to come to the US. I had gone to an American school. I had worked for the American Embassy. My former bosses were here, so I was blessed to have some connections here. So I decided to come over and, and try to give a better life for my son and for myself. So I ended up, 2 weeks after I arrived, I ended up finding a job at a community-based organization that is called Spanish Education Development Center. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a community-based organization in Washington, D.C. And I loved it. I spent there 8 years, and that gave me the opportunity to learn about the Hispanic community completely deeply. Because I was running a volunteer program, and that particular place has preschool. It's an educational organization, so that's what I learned. My love for education and learn about what the needs of the communities were. So after that, I worked at several places, working in health issues, trying to change people's behaviors, trying to educate people in terms of health promotion, disease prevention. And I ended up working at a breast and cervical cancer program from Lombardi Cancer Center, which operated also with volunteers, trying to get to women that, with low access, and a little education about the need to have this done. And in fact, Claudia was one of my volunteers at that beautiful program that was really amazing. So after that, I decided to open my own company to really do more about that type of work. So for 18 years, I have been working with my company, which we have been doing a lot of campaigns for the federal government, state, and some local, doing campaigns to educate people about awareness for health issues, educating them in terms of traffic safety, don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, pedestrian safety, to teach them about environmental issues. So that has been my passion, and being a woman, it has not been easy to go through the path, but it's an amazing opportunity. My son, who was one, I'm glad I made the decision. He ended up going to Sidwell Friends. He graduated from Princeton, so he really changed his life as well as mine. And my two kids, I had another kid who is now 21, who complained about the lack of time that I gave him when he was growing up because I was growing the business. Now he has his own business. Both of my sons have their own business. They both live in California, and I don't think they complain about the time that I had to spend away from them. So this has been an amazing experience, and in fact, I'm working with linkages from learning from the video, trying to help girls to really empower them that yes, you can. If a petite girl from Bogota was able to do that, you were here, you speak the language, you don't have an accent. I mean, you have all the tools. So I'm working with them. They're doing internships at my company and trying to really help them to see more than what they're seeing right now. It's amazing also to see how the boom of the Latino women companies are growing. It's amazing. They're outgrowing the number of Hispanic male businesses, so that's really good to know. And also the purchasing power of Latinos, as the video was mentioning, Latinos are really, everyone wants to dance with Latinos these days. Yeah, because the purchasing power is amazing, is really growing and growing. It was 1.5 trillion in 2015, and it's expected to be in 2020 1.7 trillion. There are excellent, very loyal customers. and to their brands. So it's been a very good ride for me. So, and I really appreciate, that your invitation to this panel today and to be with these amazing people and the people that showed in the video. I mean, it's very impressive. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It's my turn. Okay, bueno, good morning, everyone. Buenos días. It's an honor for me to be here today with all of you. It's really, really an honor. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. More in this month of the Hispanic Heritage Month. For me, it's amazing. Thank you for the invitation, and a special thank to the Councilwoman Nancy Navarro. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being a model of a Latina woman. Thank you so much. Nancy, muchas gracias. Te reamo. About me, okay, I'm Colombian, immigrant, wife, mother, and the best style of my life is a grandma of Lucas, the best 3 years old in the world. No discussion. Objetividad de abuelita. I love the music. I love to dance salsa, merengue, vallenatos. I like to eat arepas, empanadas. I'm very, very, very big soccer fan. Oh my God, Colombia play today. Please cross the finger because we need. No, Peru, no. No, Peru too. And yes, I'm very proud citizen of the United States. And I like the Redskins and the DC United. Go. I studied clinical psychology in my country, my PhD in human sexuality and family therapy in Tenerife, Spain. And I have a lucky because I was in a volunteer in Kinsey Institute in this country, and so lucky for that. I came to the US 20 years ago. I spent the first two years crying my eyes out because I miss my family, my friends so much. But it was also a time to reinvent myself. I think that was the wonderful opportunity for me, for my life, the reinvent. In those first challenging years of self, the reflection and the reinvention, I began to understand how hard is the immigrant life, how hard is to revive your life in a country that is not your country, with the other language, other custom, other food, everything is new for you. It's really, really hard. But I was very lucky because I got involved in an organization that worked for the Latino community, de la Clínica del Pueblo in Washington, D.C., and there began a beautiful new journey for me that continues to this day. It's a passion for me to work with the community, with the Latin community, with the Hispanic community. It's really, really a passion for me. I began working with women's groups in HIV/AIDS prevention, and quickly realized the enormous impact that the many forms of abuse and violence having on our women. It's incredible how they don't talk about that, and they basically live in a, ¿cómo se dice cárcel? Jail. In a jail, because the abuse and violence is really, really, really hard for that. Currently, I'm leading this work in a group in this county. The name is Círculo de Mujeres Latinas. is a group, a circle of Latina women, a project with the objective is educating a woman in process of the self-esteem, autonomy, relationship healthy, the construction of healthy and violence-free families, and sexuality, healthy sexuality too. I'm also blessed because since I arrived, I have had a space in the media, local media, in radio and in TV. Now I have lucky because I'm in the national radio in the West Coast with the Univision radio to educate on topics that nobody talk about. Nobody talk about sexuality, domestic violence, child abuse, and harassment at work, mental health, depression. Nobody talk about that because it's a taboo. It's unacceptable to talk about that in the families and in the society, among many others. Unwanted and unplanned pregnancy, sexual abuse, and sexuality transmitted disease coupled with high rates of violence in couples is a reality that we cannot deny and not tolerate. We cannot deny the political situation for immigrants is worrying, and that make people not report abuse for fear, and this is affecting mental health about our family because increase the depression, esa palabra no puedo, anxiety, thank you very much, of our community and their family. It's a reality right now. But the good news is our people, our community need and they want to learn. They want to stop the violence. We need help about mental health. The Latino community, my community, our community is loving, is a beautiful community, hardworking, and is resilient. Latino men and women are seeking to improve their life and overcome that many challenges they face and continue to make continuous contribution to the welfare and well-being of all of us in the beautiful county. The community Latino love this county. The community Latino love this country. The community Latino is amazing. And la esperanza es, yes, together we can. Sí, se puede, juntos, no los dejemos solos. I invite, October is Awareness Domestic Violence Month. I invite all of you to join me in saying no more violence, no más violencia. I think so, that is my message today, because I talk a lot, many other things in my work, but I think we need you to stop the violence in the world, but right now in this country and in my community. Thank you so much.
Hello. You're gonna excuse me because I'm used to sticking microphones in your faces. And now it's a little strange for me to be on the other side. And so it's a little nerve-wracking. I'll be nicer maybe next time. No, but thank you so much for inviting me, especially, we said it's Hispanic Heritage Month. And I do remember, and I want to mention when Councilmember Nancy Florine, the first time we heard the rhetoric coming during the campaign, having that resolution, having all of you standing here, borderline in tears, and the impact that had, and that impact that still has. Why? Because I interview people on a daily basis. I interview people on the street. I stop them in Wheaton. I interrogate them. I don't let them go, and I harass them to get answers of what's going on in their community. And they do care, and they know. And to hear them say, "Oh, but this is going on at a national level," and saying, "Well, yeah, but I have the support, right? Like I have that support." I heard them say it. They told me that I'm gonna be okay. And so when you're moving forward, and we are all moving forward with this administration and just being considerate of what's going on, think of that. At the end of the day, sometimes it seems so simple, but it really does resonate. And sometimes it'll be, annoying and tedious to hear, the reporter not, call you again and say, well, what's your comment on this? What do you have to do with this? They really do depend on that, and things change so much, and that fear will increase. From one week it's so tranquil, and the next week it's spiked up. So just have that in consideration, because I remember it was impactful for me, and I'm supposed to be neutral, I'm supposed to be unbiased, I'm supposed to have no emotions, and you all were in tears, and I was like, wow, this is what's going on. And that I remember starting that package with Nancy Florine saying, this will not be tolerated. And that still resonates when I interview people on the street. So I feel very honored to be invited to Montgomery County. I was just telling Victor that I'm from California. I moved here 2 years ago. And I really love it, and I'm really cheesy about it, because every time people are like, well, what do you think of the DMV? And I'm like, I really like I'm really cheesy about it, more than sometimes natives. I'm like convincing them. I'm like, no, you live in a great area. I don't think you understand. And I'm coming from a very left, open-minded California, right, where we all think a certain way, and everybody thinks, has a certain ideology. And I come here, and I've never been more challenged. I've never met a more diverse group of people, and honestly, that's why I like it, and that's why I love my job. I moved here with the intention of getting to know the community, and it was the most difficult thing in the entire world for me. I thought I was going to be, I was like, I can't do this. Everyone's so different, everyone's so diverse, and when you talk to the Salvadoran, it's very different to talking to somebody from Bolivia, somebody from Peru, somebody from Colombia, but that's what makes it so rich, and all these ideologies coming together. And it's very difficult for me to speak about myself, but I will say that the only thing that resonates is that I am a first-generation U.S. American, and so my parents were the immigrant. My parents, I was a translator the entire time. I was the one filling out. I used to lie and fill out my own paperwork at school and then submit it, and then they'd be like, "Your parents have to come in." I'm like, "No, it's fine. I got it. Like, I'll figure it out." I was the one. Like, I forged their signatures. Probably, I know. But that's the idea of, when I see kids and when I hear the 30% in the school system, I was that kid navigating these both worlds, navigating my parents trying to make it and I'm trying to make it. And at the same time, aspiring for more. My more now, and being in Spanish language media is purposeful for me. It's not an accident. I chose it. Why? Because there's a need out there. There's a need of information being delivered to this huge population that gets ignored. And I'm going to say it, it's not even sometimes intentionally, but they get ignored. And it happens all the time. And I'm going to give you an example. This is the worst of the examples, and I'm going to make it a little serious, but the worst of it was when Flower Branch happened. We had people just did not know what was going on. And it was 6 p.m. We were live. There was a press conference going on with information being delivered. And I will say 75-80% of everybody there was Spanish language. They were Latinos. They only spoke Spanish. And the press conference was over, and they looked at us. And they're like, ¿Qué dijeron? What did they say? What did they say? They had lost, loved ones. They had lost everything, and they still didn't know what was going on. And the police department even looked at me, and they're like, can you translate? We had to literally translate for people, and we switched that role. We were no longer telling the information what was going on. It was me, talking to a 27-year-old, telling him that his parents were not at the hospitals that they had transported people. And it was, our anchor pulling people of like, oh, you need information, okay, and being that, that moderator in that circumstance. We had to take on that role until finally the Spanish language liaison came over and was able to provide information. So it's a very purposeful thing for me. As you can tell, I can speak English, and and I can do English language media, but there's a need out there, and that need comes from my parents at the end of the day, and that's why I'm in this. And so when you're moving forward, and I know, like I said, it sounds sometimes just so repetitive, and it's like we know who we are as Montgomery County, but it changes constantly. honestly, I'll tell you this anecdote. I know I'm Latino, that's never changed, and I never had a problem with it, To be honest, I always think it's an advantage. I'm always like, oh, it's fine, I know where my roots are from. I know all this, and I think I'm so proud of that. I've never questioned it by any means. I've never tried to hide it. And one time, I'm talking about driver's licenses for undocumented people and the ability to get that access. And then somebody stops me on the street and said, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, driver's licenses for undocumented people. The system, it's kind of, I'm giving my whole spiel on it. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. The new Trump will come in and he will deport you and everyone else. I am a US-born citizen, and he felt the need to tell me that when he was interrupting my job. And I got told that on the street. And then what was worse to me is, you can insult me all you want, and I can take it in and breathe it out. But his wife pulled him away like I was going to be the one that was going to get violent. And she said, and gasped and went back. Like I was the one that was going to get violent. That stuff happens daily. I can defend myself, but there are residents in this county and the neighboring counties that can't defend themselves. And I always think that could have been my parent, that could have been my mom, that could have been my dad, and they have no way of defending themselves. So the only thing that I'm here to say is, I never get this soapbox opportunity to speak to you of what's going on, but this is sometimes, I hope it clicks maybe once in a while, and this may resonate moving forward with these, next years that we have. And whatever may happen in the future is that we have an important population. Just because the Washington Post picked up on it or NBC picked up on it doesn't mean that that's been our reality. That's been my reality for the last 2 years, and it hasn't changed. And I'm telling you, and I will end this, and I will brag about it in the sense that Univision for the last year has had #1 ratings for the entire year. We're talking about surpassing NBC. We're not competing with other Spanish language. We're competing with NBC. We're competing with Fox. And where's the highest viewership coming from? It's Montgomery County. So when we're being that insistent, when people are wanting that information, when people want to know about immigration, it's because of that. So I will leave you with that. And these are stats given from Nielsen last week, that Montgomery County is our highest viewership, and Univision, till this day, remains #1, and we're coming up on the next period, and that's not to brag about Univision by any means. That's to brag about the importance of this population, and and the population that I'm so proud of. That's, at the end of the day, that's why I'm here to reiterate that and, I don't know, speak from this other side that I never get to do. So thank you so much, and thank you. Yes, thank you.
That was extraordinary. Thank you very much to each of you for all those different perspectives, really spoken from the heart. And you're right. I mean, there's just so much potential and also so much to do, and we're always rolling up our sleeves to do that. I don't know if my colleagues have any comments or questions. I think, do we see anything here? Councilmember Rice.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for those great presentations. Mr. Alvarenga, I know you, and I know the passion that you bring to a quest for education, which is at the root of all of our success, and you talked very eloquently about that. I'd like to get more of a perspective of you on, from your perspective in terms of what it is that we're doing well as those things that we can do better, especially when it comes to our Latino and Hispanic communities, especially when it comes to outreach and making sure that parents understand the resources that are available, as well as the resources that are not there that we should be providing, those opportunities that should be there to encourage and ensure that everybody is able to attain that success that you talked about.
Wow. Let's write down the solution, right? Obviously, there's no magic, right? No easy solution. One of the hardest things is funding, right? Funding is always what it comes down to. But one of the, and maybe I hope the Board of Education is listening, but one of the things that I've noticed as a parent is the lack of true teacher development, the cultural teachings to their teachers. Teachers understanding how to teach kids is a big deal. Anybody can go on a blackboard and put 1 + 1 is 2. Anybody can do that. But being able to teach that to a diverse group of kids is different. Understanding what kids go through at home before they get to school is a big deal. Every teacher, I have always said, teachers, you signed up to teach math. No, you didn't. You signed up to be a counselor, a psychologist. You signed up to be a best friend. That's what you signed up for. The teaching comes after. My kids, when they come home and I ask all my kids, how was today? They don't talk about the subject. They talk about what he said, what she said, and my teacher this and that. They don't talk about the math. I'll say, so what about the subject? Oh, I got it, Dad. Look, blah, 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 blah. You look at the grades. Okay, they understand that. But what is really affecting them is the interaction that's happening. So I know teacher development, but real teacher development, not these classes where they come in for 30 minutes, sign a sheet, and somebody speaks, and that's it. Anybody can do that, but really capturing how to teach these kids, how to look for signs, how to interact with them, and putting emphasis in building relationship with these students. I know that one of my biggest projects was the portables, right? I was Mr. Portable, all right? Kept talking about these portables over at Summit Hall. One of the things that we were able to show our community is a tangible win, right? All of our 14 portables in the back of our school are gone. And we got two 16 class modules or 8 classroom modules. The community feels good, right? These are tangible wins. These classrooms they're brand new. They have running water. They have bathrooms. Who would have thought that having a bathroom was a win, right? But it is, because kids now don't have to go outside every 10 minutes. When you have 200 kids outside of a school. So one of the things that I know that the county is doing, I know that the county and the school are trying. I do see that. Which is why we fight, and which is why we're so thankful for being here, which is why everybody here is so proud to call Montgomery County our county, because we do feel like everybody's trying. One of the things to kind of bring some things around also is about how it might sound repetitive. We need it to sound repetitive. I know people right now that are in leadership positions that are in our schools that have posted on Facebook that said, I'm tired of hearing about politics. I'm tired of hearing about these protests. I'm tired. Can't we just use Facebook as a funny thing, as for memes and talk about what you ate for dinner? No, we can't. All right, you need to block me now. Okay, because no, we can't. Because people like you is reasons why we have to continuously be talking about this. You are the reason why we have these problems, because you're tired of it. Well, guess what? Come to my bus stop and find out how many kids are waiting to get to school to eat breakfast. They're not tired of it, right? We want to build a $20 billion wall, but we have $120 billion of bridges that need to be fixed. Right? We have $800 million of backlog HVAC system here in Montgomery County Public Schools. Talk about that before we start talking about building a wall that's only going to keep X amount of people out. We'll find a way to get in anyway, right? So that's not even the problem. The problem is about putting our money in the correct resources, educating our teachers that we are all wanting to learn, making sure that teachers, when we say, hey, you can come into the school anytime, but can I? Can I really come into the school anytime? Am I going to feel welcome to come into the school anytime? It's a difference between saying, this is our policy, but this is what we live by, right? So making sure that our school systems, our local government is actively looking to improve that relationship building. I think that the more we can build relationships, the better things are going to be, right? We want our kids to succeed as much as anybody else. But we want to make sure that when we come in, we're not going to be ridiculed because we don't understand the language, because we don't understand that we need the PIN to get our food, right? That our kids aren't going to be told to sit a certain place or to you go hang out over here because you're not quite there yet, right? So you're going to have these group of kids. I'm going to focus on these group of kids because they're doing it, right? But what about them, right? Disability, the notion that, or the taboo that kids have disabilities. So many kids have disabilities, but I know in my culture, and I've experienced it in my own family, where there was denial of a disability, right? The sooner we get that and the better IEPs we can get to these students, the better we will have with these kids. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I just want to, funding is always number one. Adequate education, but adequate teachers, right? Not having teachers in the classroom so they can get a paycheck. I'll tell you, I've never heard it personally. I've heard other people saying where teachers have said, I'm here just for the check. I'm telling you, if I ever heard that, my 1999 Oscar Alvarenga might come out, all right? The post-2000 Alvarenga might come out, because I do not want you in my school teaching or working with any student if you're here for a paycheck, because I don't get a paycheck, and I'm here because I care, and you get paid okay, so adequate teacher leadership, and I know MCEA, and I know a lot of great teachers. There's so many great teachers doing it, but it's those few that make it tough, and those few apples that we need to continue educating.
Mr. Eldridge has his light on.
I was really impressed by everyone, but as a former teacher, I got to say, you nailed it pretty well. And when I was teaching, we used to call your 30-minute trainings, we call them drive-by trainings. And the assumption that you can correct years of misinformation and years of not understanding in an hour or even a day is just not possible. I mean, it requires a lot more work. But it really starts before MCPS, because once you're in a classroom and working, the ability to change after you've gone through, an education program. I went through Hopkins, where these issues are discussed only minimally. There was a 1-3 credit course in multiculturalism, which didn't delve into the kind of stuff you're talking about. You actually have to fix this at the preparatory level for the teachers that go into teaching, so teachers understand what they're going to come to in a classroom. When I was teaching, somebody said, in my special education class, what are you going to do if you have one kid who has special needs in your classroom? I was already teaching. I had 8 kids. It's like, well, what do you do with 8 out of 24? Not 1 out of 25. And so these are real things that I don't think teachers are adequately prepared for. And it's a load to put on MCPS by itself because it's late in the game. You have to prepare people for what they're walking into so they can adapt and change in the process. So, my question is, there are seats on the school board and obviously seats on the county council. Your energy is not many people would come and say things as bluntly, frankly, as you did in response to the question. There are many softballs you could have gotten away with, and you didn't do that. So I'm glad you chose otherwise. And the work that all of you do is really, really important in the committee and in the community. And I can say my own son is looking at permanent residency status in Colombia. He's in Medellin. And fallen in love with the city and fallen in love with the people down there. And so I have a Nigerian son-in-law. I'm looking probably at a Colombian daughter-in-law. But it's just fascinating what's been done, and your work is really to be, I think, acknowledged. And you use the word fight, and that makes people uncomfortable sometimes. Fight is what you have to do. You don't get noticed if you don't fight. If you just wait for things to be distributed, you'll get far less than you do if you make it an issue. You've got to force, and I'm saying this as a councilman, you have to force upon people who make decisions difficult choices. And we're going to tell you these choices are difficult. I just say you should make them difficult. I think that there are different priorities and different needs in the community, and we've got to address that. And the dream of everybody integrated together is still a dream. We have to get there at some point. And I'd say, as a man, it's lucky, you pointed out the assumptions about about being a male and somebody afraid of you. And I think about all the crimes that are committed in the countries. It's lucky that males aren't stigmatized the way different racial groups are, because basically most of everything that's been described that's bad is done by one gender. And we don't talk about that, and it's something we don't want to deal with. But it is something we're going to have to deal with, and stop focusing on small subgroups and focus on the general acculturation that makes violence and abuse acceptable is probably the wrong word, but doesn't rise to the level of concern that it should. But thank you all, and thank everybody for coming out this morning.
Back to you, Ms. Navarro.
Well, I think that we're getting to that time where we're going to do awards, and then there's a little lunch on the 6th floor. But I just wanted to wrap this up. First of all, thanking everybody who participated in the video, the panelists, and to remind everybody that this is a month-long celebration, and we do a lot of dancing and singing and all kind of stuff, right? This particular celebration is really to have a moment to reflect on those policy issues and those equity issues and those very important, I think, discussions that we don't often have and we don't often focus, but it's just a tiny little sliver. And I hope that we all recommit to continue to engage in this type of exchange. It's the most beautiful thing about this country and its democracy is that we can come and we can fight and scream and yell, whatever it is, but we have that medium. And so let's commit to going into our own communities again and our neighborhoods and encourage everybody to do so. And I know on this county council, we do everything possible to make people feel welcome, with translation services and subtitles, and we have, Lillian Mass, and so please, let's make sure that we also provide that gift to our community of encouragement. And so with that, I believe, Council President, we're going to move over to awards.
We will. Let me just conclude this part of the program by thanking each and every one of you. It was such a rich experience to listen to you and see the world through your eyes, see the experience that you've had coming to this country, oh my goodness, even 33 years ago, and still feeling that there is work to be done. And Mr. Alvarengo, when I was young, I had long hair, smoked things I was probably not supposed to smoke. I know it's a revelation. It is. So that they're, and some of us have gotten past that stage, as you have, by your dedication. I was particularly moved by your observation of how people in your communities don't know how to work the system. How do you make sure that your needs are taken care of? I've represented communities that I promise you know how to work the system. And so it is so terribly important for people like you and each and every one of you to make sure that your communities understand how to relate to us, how to relate to other public policy makers, how to ensure that your legitimate needs and aspirations are in fact understood, if not always perfectly addressed, because none of our communities' needs are perfectly addressed. But it is making sure that we understand exactly what stands in the way of your communities achieving everything that every one of us desires in our lives. Our common humanity is so important, and as I think others have given voice to, here in Montgomery County, we take rightful pride in saying we are one Montgomery. We may have 170 different cultures, 140 different languages, but we do stand united, and we stand with this, your important community. Oh my goodness, 200,000 residents of Montgomery County. If we don't honor this part of our community, then shame on us. So that's my goal. I know that's the goal of every one of my colleagues up here, is to make sure that we do right by every one of our residents. Most importantly, in this moment in time, make sure that our Hispanic community feels honored, respected, and is the beneficiary of every policy and program that's appropriate at this moment in time.